Hello and welcome to Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce, where we connect with local Troy Chamber members as they give us a glimpse into their company and share some of the business lessons along the way. Hi everyone, I'm Tara Thompson-Cusack, President and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined by our Vice President, an amazing human being, Sheila Denstead.
Hello.
First, I'd like to take a moment to thank our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. Stay tuned for our very first commercial break where you can learn how you can rely on Trion. So Sheila, we have a very interesting guest ahead of us today. Why don't you do some introductions?
I will. I'm very excited to. Today we're meeting with Jim Blau, founder of Mid-Michigan Canine Academy. Mid-Michigan Canine Academy's mission is to enrich the lives of their community members by fostering stronger, more rewarding relationships between people and their puppies. They are committed to offering top quality dog training at an affordable price while delivering exceptional care and compassion for every dog they work with. Jim, welcome today. And I call every dog a puppy, so I don't care how old they are, just so you know.
I just laughed when you said that. I was like,
that too. Hi, Tara. Hi, Sheila. Pleasure to be with you today.
Thanks, Jim. I laughed because your phone tinged, which means you're just a busy guy. So I can appreciate you spending the time with us today. So obviously it's summer. It's hot. So I'm going to start with it is the dog days of summer, even though I think it's the dog days of every day. But why, as we're seeing people taking their dogs out to the park, we're seeing people walk their dogs everywhere. Why is it so important to get professional dog training for your pet?
Reduce your stress. Make life easy on yourself. That's number one. I mean, if your dog is just pulling or jumping and being kind of a knucklehead, you're going to reduce your stress. You're going to have less worry, and your walks are going to be way more pleasurable. That's the first one. Then, of course, if your dog is really having some behavioral problems, you obviously want to avoid dangerous situations, reactivity. Other dogs might be reactive too, and it might make your dog act in ways you've never seen before. So the best thing to do is get training, understand your dog, build a good bond so you know what their threshold is, what their boundaries are, and have a much better time with them.
Yeah, and a trained dog, I would assume, is actually a happier dog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't understand the firmness, the boundaries that we lay for our dogs, that we set for the dogs, actually help them relax and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume it helps the families too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Jim, we had an opportunity when you came in today to talk a little bit about your background. Something that hit both, I think I can speak for Tara, but Tara and I, is the Redemption Crew. Tell us about that. Tell us how that came about and how that influences what you do.
Yeah.
Well, we love to refer to our clients and our staff, our team, as the Redemption Crew because we change lives, not just the dogs' lives, but the parents' lives, the owners' lives who get involved with this whole process. But it all started when I actually got out of prison after 30 years. And despite having earned a bachelor's degree in business, I could not get a job, and which is understandable. So I started training dogs out of the apartment because it's what I had done for the last 10 years in prison. I was fortunate enough to get in these programs with rehabilitating greyhounds that got rescued off the tracks. I did that for a few years and then worked with what we called pound puppies that would come out of shelters all over Michigan. And we would teach them how to be pets, teach them manners, teach them the good stuff to do, the stuff to avoid, and then send them on their way. And it was a steep learning curve working with traumatized, abused greyhounds I started. But also working with a team of guys that's all we had to do. And some of them had done it for years and years. So I can't imagine a better training, no matter where you went in the United States, than that right there. That's a trainer's boot camp. But even so, I never expected to do this as a job or a career. But when I got out and I started doing it to pay bills until I found a real job.
Hey, this is a real job.
Yeah, this is a real job. And it turned out that people really appreciated. When probably my second or third client, it burst into tears when she got her 2 little lap dogs back. And I realized it makes a difference to people.
Yeah.
It is life-changing for them. And I wouldn't hate it if that's what I did, as a living.
Did you love dogs before that? Or was this program opened your eyes to them?
Well, I'd always had dogs as a kid.
Yeah.
I loved them. They're my best friend and all that. But I never knew anything about training. And I was actually very lucky or blessed to get into the dog programs the last 10 years. A friend of mine, apparently I saved his life back in the 90s. And when I got to the facility that had the dogs, he said, here, let me help you out. And so that was an inside track to a very difficult program to get into at the time.
Wow.
And it changed my life.
How well, and it's one of those things too of it goes with the theming of the name, the redemption.
Right. Yeah.
So you're pulling the redemption, but you're making an impact and bringing. I mean, pets are joy to people.
They are.
You know this.
Their family.
That's their fur child, and now you're able to bring these families together. So that's got to be such a wonderful feeling and honor for you.
Absolutely. And all the joy they can bring, they can also bring the stress and the hardship. We've met so many people
Like a
literally
kid.
held hostage by their dogs. They don't want to have people come over to their house. They can't leave the house because the dog's going to act, obnoxiously. Even what we call obnoxiously friendly, where they're jumping and licking and
Talking about a golden retriever?
oh yeah, there you go, or a lab or something. It's horrible. If you're the visitor, you like the dog for about 2 seconds, and then you're thinking enough, right?
You met my husband.
Oh, come on. Well, but that brings up a good point on the aspect that, you know what, pets are obviously their family, but they're also an investment because just like if you have a kid, if you don't invest in their future and help them, investment doesn't always mean money, but it's investing the time, doing the work to make sure that this pet is going to be happy for you and happy for others.
Yeah. I'm actually glad you mentioned that because we tell all our clients that we consider it an investment into you, the time that we spend, because our staff is very professional. This is what they do. And the difference between this being the best investment they've ever made in their dog and their personal life with their dog and a complete waste of money and time is whether or not they follow through. And it doesn't take a lot of work. No. It just takes everybody being on the same team so you have consistency and being persistent, just staying on the process, on the system, and they'll experience a huge change.
If you don't come to Parent-Teacher Day, you don't know what's happening. So makes sense to me. Yeah. Well, guys, this is a great moment to take a quick break and hear a word from our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Vicari, President and CEO of the Joe Vicari Restaurant Group, which encompasses 24 restaurants throughout the country. With the addition of Trion, our general managers don't have to spend hours doing paperwork and putting people in our system. All that's done by Trion now, so they can work on what they are there to do, take care of our customers. That's why we rely on Trion.
You can always rely on Trion.
Welcome back to Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. We are here with Jim from Mid-Michigan Canine Academy. Okay, so obviously we spent the past few minutes chatting with you, and we can tell that you're passionate about what you do.
Absolutely.
So the one question I have is that each dog is different. We were talking about the overly happy or maybe the aggressive. Each dog has their own kind of quirks, as you said, and personality traits. How do you work with each individual dog, and how do you help get them on the right path, I guess is my question.
Well, we have an expression that says, train the dog in front of you. It's not the dog you just put away in a kennel or the dog you're about to do. That dog in front of you has its own personality, its own breed, its own age, its own attributes that you need to work, its own health considerations. So all these things are what you're going to take into consideration in how you're rewarding the dog, how you're correcting it, because you want to speak to that dog. You want to build the communication with that dog. And that's the most important thing right there. Because you can have a tool belt full of tools, and they're not going to do you any good if you can't relate to the dog in front of you.
Makes sense.
Well, talking about relating and talking about your dogs in general, you have a doggy boot camp. I just love saying that.
It is fun.
What are some of the training exercises you put through the dogs through, and what can a pet parent expect to see when their puppy graduates?
Well, since this is a shorter podcast and not a 3-day broadcast, let me tell you, the facility looks like a resort. It's beautiful, but it is a boot camp. They come there to work. And we work on a host of different behaviors from basic commands, engagement, loose leash walking, recall, impulse control, socialization, pack structure, and on and on. And the reason is because I believe a well-rounded dog is going to be a well-behaved dog. Mm-hmm. And so the more subjects we can cover with a dog, the more it's all going to come together in the finished product. So while the dog is there, we send videos to the owners every day of the dogs working with the trainer. So they're going to see them doing a recall exercise where we're teaching the dog to come when it's called the first time, not after like a game of catch me if you can, which that's the worst game in the world, by the way. Or just doing basic commands like sit down, stand, and over to the left. Even simple drills like waiting before we go through doors so the dog doesn't charge through. Or teaching it how not to jump. It wants affection when we get home and we come in and it wants to greet us. Well, we'll teach it how to greet you politely and not be obnoxiously friendly or just a knucklehead.
So what age? What's the youngest pup you could bring in?
Great question. We do have a puppy boot camp, which can start as early as 12 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And we don't worry as much about obedience in that as building solid environmental, socialization, and confidence. And these are all elements of building a strong, stable personality in a dog. So when they're 10 months, a year and a half, they don't develop those behavioral issues like anxiety or reactivity. They're already familiar with the world around it. They feel confident in all situations, and you can avoid a lot of problems. But when we're talking about a straight obedience boot camp, then usually about 16 weeks. And the second half of that is a dog ever too old? No.
So you can teach an old dog new tricks?
Absolutely
I like your
can.
game. I like that.
Sometimes we have to unlearn the old tricks first and then teach them. But yeah, any age dog can learn to be well behaved.
Well, if you need help with the puppies, I'm willing to come and help in any way.
She's a huge volunteer of the puppy world. So, well, I've worked in animal welfare for a very long time. Actually, that's my passion. So talking to you always makes me excited because this is my passion too. Yeah. And one thing that I always am a person who says and kind of argues sometimes is that there actually is no such thing as a bad dog. And I truly believe that. I think there could be bad training or just not enough attention or things of that nature. But I'll also see people very commonly scared to adopt a dog from an animal shelter because it's the unknown of what they came from, where what they've been through. How do you work with dogs who have maybe some underlying anxieties or maybe experienced trauma in their time?
Well, that's a very difficult subject. And some dogs are traumatized, just like those greyhounds we used to get that would come off the track. And if you want to think about abuse, that would be right up in the top levels of that. But we do have a wellness program for dogs that specifically addresses fears, anxieties, separation anxiety, and these kinds of stresses. We also deal with aggressive dogs and all kinds of behavioral issues. But the wellness program is specifically designed to bring your fearful dog out of its shell. Just in the last probably 30 to 45 days, we've had 3 dogs that would cower in the back of their kennels, shake with fear, did not want to come out. And within 1 week, they were out playing around. And by the end of their 4-week program, were just whole different dogs that you'd want to call them a stunt double because they were nothing like the dog that came to us. So my team really loves these cases, really care about them, and spend a lot of time just showing them that it's okay to be their true, authentic selves.
Yeah. So you must love coming to work every day.
It's fun. It is fun. And it's a challenge. It can be exciting to see the progress with each dog. And running back and forth between the 2 branches, one in Saginaw, one in Troy. I get the updates every day and then work with the trainers on any kind of challenges they have with certain dogs. So it's fun to see them change from day to day. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Jim, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, your story tells a lot about who you are and the impact now that you're making. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Tara. Thank you, Sheila. It was a pleasure.
For us too.
I was like, now we just want to go play with dogs, though. This is a problem. So you may have to see us. We'll stop by. Well, guys, that's all we have here today on Members on the Mic with the Tri-Chamber of Commerce. Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. To learn more about upcoming events or how to join the chamber, go to trichamber.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Bye now.